Okay, well, let's get going. Welcome everyone to Social Distancing and the New Normal, Reopening Strategies. This is the fourth in our webinar series offering insights from home building industry leaders. My name is Melissa Garland. I'm the Vice President of Client Development for Atlas RTX. We develop and manage AI-driven chatbots for the home building industry. In today's 45-minute webinar, we're going to talk about planning for success post-coronavirus. There is, of course, a great deal of discussion around when is the right time to reopen our economies. But one thing everyone does seem to agree on is that now is the right time to plan for reopening. So today we'll talk about shifts in strategy, marketing, technology that home builders are considering in their reopening planning. So I'm joined today by Kim Ross, Vice President for Woodside Homes, and Paul Titus, the Sales Director for Cretan Townsend Homes. And as always in these webinars, we'll take questions throughout. Feel free to open up the Q&A bar down below, place any questions in there, and we'll respond to them as we go. So I'd like to start by asking each of you, Paul and Kim, to briefly introduce yourselves, your company, a little bit about what you do specifically in the home building industry, as well as your specific roles. Kim, could we start with you?
Sure. I'm the Vice President of Marketing in the corporate office at Woodside Homes. Woodside is about a 40-year-old company. We were privately owned for since 1977. And in 2017, we were acquired by one of the world's largest home builders, Sekisui House, out of Osaka, Japan. I personally have been with the company since 2014. I was hired to advance digital media and marketing strategies throughout the organization. My background is pretty extensive in marketing. I've worked in a number of different industry verticals, and for the past 15 years have really focused on real estate and hospitality. So joining the home building industry was new for me in 2014, but I found it a very fascinating business, and we've come a long way in the 6 years that I've been with Woodside.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much. Paul, would you give us a little bit of your story?
Yes, my name is Paul Titus. I'm the Sales Director for Cretan Townsend Homes. We operate out of Southeast Louisiana. We are an on-your-lot builder, so we don't own neighborhoods. We don't own any land. We require the customer to bring us their property to build on. We are a hybrid between a neighborhood builder, production builder, and a custom builder, meaning we try to mirror efficiencies of production builder, but also offer all the flexibility of a custom builder. So we build anything from our own plan library to a set of plans customers brought in from an independent designer or draftsperson. And we work with all these customers. So a little bit different of a business entity in the home building world, but we've been very successful at it. I've been with the company since 2011. Started in the building role, moved to purchasing, estimating, then moved into sales and sales management, and now sit on a leadership team with the company.
Fantastic. That's great. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's going to be great to have your different perspectives. I think it'll be really interesting for our conversation. So like most builders we've spoken with here, I assume that prior to the coronavirus crisis, you both were on target for a pretty solid year. Yeah. And so I wanted to ask you each what your experience has been of the crisis. So what kind of shutdowns and other shifts have you had to make in your respective companies? Paul, do you want to start?
Yeah. So construction-wise for us, luckily for us, we're a on-your-lot builder. We're so spread out. We haven't had to stop any construction. We're managed to keep our work crews, from not being on top of each other inside the home. So our construction was actually able to carry on, maybe a little bit of slowdown with getting supplies and materials delivered if they came from a more infected area than where we are. Our sales center, though, we do have one central location for our sales center model home park where, we have maybe up to 20 people working a day. We had to close that completely and move into a virtual environment with all of our support staff and salespeople. But overall, we're proceeding pretty well. Very happy with the results our team has been able to produce in these last 4 weeks of lockdown in Louisiana.
Well, that's great news. Kim,
Mhm.
how about you?
Well, Woodside operates in 4 states. We do about half of our business in California, and then the other half is devoted to the states that I call our eastern markets, which are Arizona, Nevada, and Utah. Um, in all of those states, although a lockdown has been implemented in all except for Utah, um, home building is considered an essential business, so construction has been allowed to continue. Sales have been somewhat more limited in practice for our normal operations because we have had to close many of our sales offices and offer tours of our model homes on appointment only basis. So it has been a bit of a challenge. We started to see a real slowdown in walk-in traffic around mid-March. So we had to pivot very quickly to offer some communication to prospective buyers that made them aware that there were a lot of things that they could do to continue their search for a new home digitally. So that was our primary focus as we entered into the serious phases of the coronavirus crisis.
Yeah, great. And that is exactly where I wanted to go. So you've gone digital in terms of communication. Are there other shifts that you've made there, Kim, in terms of how you've addressed the crisis situation?
Well, we had a 2-year plan in place at the beginning of 2020 to really be able to shift to a very heavily digital sales funnel. And that actually would extend beyond the sale through the closing of the home. And that got amped up to a 2-week plan. So
there you go.
So we really did have to make some very quick changes. I credit our senior leadership at our organization for pulling together very quickly and making some important decisions as to how we would move forward. So what we did was made sure that all of our modeled plans had a virtual tour available on the website. On modeled plans, we started getting to work right away and building virtual reality game engine tours for those. But from an operational standpoint, for our backlog customers, those who have homes under construction, we really had to develop very quickly a digital way of connecting with them, making sure that their confidence level was still high, that their house was going to get completed on time. And so our construction supervisors and sales professionals got very good very quickly at Zoom and FaceTime and using those tools that we have at our disposal right now to have synchronous chats, walk people through their homes under construction, give them status updates, and just make sure that they stayed in the loop at all times.
Yeah, that's great. What did you guys do there, Paul, to try to address things as they shifted into the crisis situation?
So our story is very similar to Kim's in the sense that, you know, for the last several years, we've been figuring out how to take our business online virtually anyway. We saw that as a shift coming in the market as the years came. And just like her, in 2 weeks, we went from, you know, a lot of how do we do this in long-term planning to how do we put it in effect pretty quickly. And we were able to do so. We went with Google Meets. We're using Google Suite products already, so it incorporated pretty quickly. We were also able to use DocuSign. We weren't using DocuSign. We were doing everything in person prior to this, so we got DocuSign engaged very quickly and have been using that extensively already. We have been very fortunate that our construction staff and our customers under construction, we're still able to communicate with them in the field at their home. There again, being so remote and rural, we didn't have to quite worry about that side of it. But our salespeople had to quickly learn and adapt to how do you give a quality presentation, you know, virtually over a FaceTime or a Zoom type meeting? Yeah. How do you walk through and give a virtual tour? So actually pull up the home plan and tour the home like you were in person. And to their credit, they rolled with the punches and they're doing great with it. I'm really proud of them. So
yeah, that's really fantastic. For what do you guys tend to think now about, given where we are today, that, you know, things are changing every minute, it seems, but wondering what your current expectations are as a business about when you think you might start doing some things that start to look like normal. Do you have any plans or thoughts about a timeline for that, either one of you? Jump.
I'll share what we're doing. So we've completely shut down our sales centers at this point, but moving forward, we're already developing our transitional plan to go to an appointment-only system with a limited number of appointments per day. And we might start off with, let's just say 6 appointments per day as a max capacity. And as the epidemic starts to improve, the conditions improve, we can always increase that capacity.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to say a specific date, but we kind of have the as certain signals and indicators hit, then we can just take this next step in our transition plan.
Right. Kim, what are your thoughts on when you guys might start to return?
Well, it depends on the market. Some of the less dense markets that we're in, such as Utah, we can probably start thinking about opening our doors to walk-in traffic again within the next few weeks. That might be delayed substantially in other markets, such as Northern California. But we're really, we're looking ahead already to, okay, what will we do when we do open our doors again? And what are some of the key learnings that we've had over the past weeks that we'll be able to carry forward? The things that have worked really well for us that we want to continue in the state of new normal, so to speak. Some of those things include utilization of tools such as self-guided tours. We have found that there has been great acceptance, particularly amongst some of our younger buyers who may not want to talk to a salesperson initially when they tour a home, that they like the freedom of being able to go tour one of our completed specs on their own time. Mm-hmm. So we started using some smart locks that are enabled with a software program that allows us to have a guest register and provide their personal information so that they can then gain access to the home through this smart lock using an app. And then, of course, we put all of our digital feedback into play that we've been utilizing for several months now, using the Atlas program for model home feedback after a customer has visited on a self-guided tour is particularly productive for us and allows us to continue the sales process with them.
Yeah, that's fantastic. One of our listeners is asking if either of you were seeing buyers who were willing to make offers without actually seeing the home in person. Have you guys experienced that at all yet?
So I can share what we've done this past month in lockdown. So for the last 8 months, we've sold roughly on average 20 homes a month. There again, we do all pre-sold. And in this last 30 days, we've written 15 agreements now. So there again, it's not a specific model. We do a lot more of the design process, pricing. Our sales process takes about 3 or 4 months before they get to construction. But we've gotten 15 new clients without walking in the door, agreed to purchase a home from us and put a deposit down. So yes, people are willing to do this at this point.
That's interesting. What about you, Kim? Same?
Same here. It is much less frequent, but we do have buyers who are willing to enter into a contract after viewing the virtual tours only. So we have some experience with that even prior to the COVID-19 crisis. So we're starting to figure out now what are some of those key trigger points that will help us to deliver a better experience to our potential buyers so that they feel comfortable and confident that what we're building for them is very similar to what they've seen in virtual reality, but also that they have the confidence in the types of materials we use, the trade partners that we work with that will assure solid quality construction. And so we're really focused on that moving forward.
Yeah, so let's jump to that, because you've both mentioned that you were already planning to be, to expand in the whole process of digitizing the experience, and then you accelerated that, and now you're looking at which things are going to continue to help you. You've mentioned smart locks, for example. You've mentioned some of the virtual tour technologies. Are there other specific things that you expect, or ways that you expect either technology? Let's stay with technology for a second. Are there ways that you expect technology to play a role in an ongoing basis that maybe it wasn't before and now it is, and you think it'll continue to play a strong role in your ongoing running of your business? Paul, you want to take that?
Yes. So, we're not going to give up and go back and give up these technologies that we developed over these last, 6 weeks that we've been implementing and refining them. And frankly, I don't think our customers are going to want to go back to the old way. They're going to want these new, easier way to do things. And believe it or not, our specialists, they're learning how to use them and be more effective and productive with these tools. So we're going to keep using the tools. One tool that we were very fortunate to have in place and implemented before this happened was a online design center. So it's a BDX product, but it allows you to put in all of your cabinet selections, plumbing fixtures, lighting fixtures, flooring samples, and customers can literally go online and pick and choose the finishes they want in their home and see them in pictures and get some descriptions and details about them. So with the virtual tours, now they can get a feel for the physical space, and then they can use this tool, this design center, to start putting the colors in there. And I think that's something we're going to continue to work with. We were planning on implementing that in 3 phases as far as how much we can use it. We're in phase 1 right now, but we're fast tracking to get to our second step in that evolution.
Yeah, that makes sense. What about you, Kim? Other technologies that you're expecting to continue to use?
Yes, Paul touched on a really good point, which is the option selection through the use of interior design tools, such as the Envision software. We have been using that as well for some time, and we have had a lot of success with it, increase in take rates on options. And we want to even look at it as an even bigger prospect, which is really reimagining the entire design center concept, not only through the use of a more robust tool that can help buyers visualize their option selections in the room context, but also this idea of going to where the customer is. That's been a topic of real interest to us lately, because we see this a lot in the retail environment. For example, companies like Starbucks that saw that their stores were suffering a real slowdown in business in the afternoons. So what did they do to manage their revenues in their off hours? Well, they started doing office deliveries of coffee. And so we started thinking about that, and we started thinking about how can we meet our customers where they are and reduce friction by helping them along their buyer journey, by letting them touch and feel samples of products, but maybe out of the comfort of their own homes. So that whole idea of creating a very mobile and portable environment for design and option selection is very interesting to us right now. There may be something that we do with that.
That's really interesting. And what areas do you see now that we've been in this, 6+ weeks that we've been home and thinking about new and better ways to do things? Are there areas where you realize, gosh, we wish we had the capability to do X or Y, or which technologies are not yet there, or what aspects of the home buyer journey that you're servicing do you think we could, we need some help with? Do you have any thoughts on that? Feel free to jump in. Go ahead. Sorry.
I know for us, doing a lot of customization of plans and even custom plans customers are bringing into us, a real simple online design tool would be nice. We've been looking for it for years. The people who make design tools typically like to make them complicated to be able to do every trick that you may need to do with it. but just a real simple way where we could scan in a PDF and on our touch screens, just move some walls or hand draw some walls. We're playing with some PDF editors, but nothing quite as refined for, as big as our industry is and as much money flows through it, that tool for me, I'm not seeing it there yet. But hopefully companies like Atlas are out there figuring this out right now. Will come up with something awesome for us.
Right. Kim, what are you seeing where you need more?
Well, in the virtual design space, I mentioned the need for really pushing the envelope out and developing an immersive experience that's highly realistic for our home buyers. And, we have a lot of tools out there right now, and they come part of the way. What I really want to see is seizing on some of the most current gaming technology to be able to deliver a wonderful VR tour on the web that you can view on your phone, that doesn't suck up a ton of bandwidth, that still delivers that experience very quickly, very succinctly, very quickly allows the buyer to personalize their options, but also gives us a lot of data feedback as well, so that we can start compiling some of those things like the most popular option selections on a real-time basis, and then be able to customize our offerings more and more based on what we're seeing our customers preferring.
Yeah, it is all about real-time experience and getting good feedback so you can give them what they're asking for, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's great. So let's kind of shift back a little bit, if you will, and sort of say, I assume, and I know you both are already strategizing for post-coronavirus business, right? Are you able to share with the viewers here what major shifts you're considering in strategy? I mean, I'm without giving anything away, are you able to speak to adjustments you're making in your expectations for 2020, any product strategy shifts, audience shifts, things like that are affected maybe as a result of the coronavirus? Kim, do you want to take that one?
Sure. So I think what most people, including those of us who are sitting here on this call, have realized during this time of spending a lot more time at home is there are certain elements of your home that are really important to you. There are certain things that your current home may be missing that you wish you had. That opportunity to connect, but also we examined the trend recently of people really like to be in a space that is somewhat communal, but that they have their own separate work or play space. So as opposed to the idea where maybe a few years ago, the concept of the huge kitchen island where everything happened was the trend. Now we're moving a little bit away from that into perhaps a smaller workspace in the kitchen that still allows for the job to get done, but then also be able to have the kids maybe off on a separate table or something working on their projects. And then there's a home office space that is still visually linked, but is contained enough that it offers some privacy for the family member who works from home. So we will continue to look for design innovation based on consumer preferences and what we see out there of what people are really liking and starting to select when they do home improvements, for example, on their existing homes. How can we offer those kinds of things in a new home context?
Yeah, that's really interesting. Paul, what are you guys seeing?
So we're pretty optimistic. I'm optimistic that we're actually going to be stronger when we come out of this, and for two big reasons. One, we're a rural builder, so we build a lot more in rural areas, and we could see a shift of people moving from the cities to the more rural areas. Especially one of our biggest target audiences is that empty nester when all the family's out and they're starting to retire. So maybe some of those people are going to want to move a little earlier than what their other plans were dictating or allowing before. And then the second thing, I know, going to all the different IBS shows talked about how our economy is becoming very experience-based. So a lot of our younger buyers are happy living in smaller living arrangements, or maybe not what we were used to when we were younger or what we wanted, because they wanted to take that extra income and put it towards vacations, going out to eat, and these different experience-based activities. Well, if those are going to be kind of people a little more hesitant to do those in the future, and people are learning, like Kim's saying, they're learning how to work and live in home, and they're saying, man, this home's just not cutting it for us anymore. I think we want to be in something a little bit bigger, a little bit nicer. We want to have this room. People are building habits right now to be home more, and I think we may see more movement as we come out of this of people trying to get into that more ideal home for them.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I've just have a friend who's building a house and who is putting the ability to have a coffee station in like the guest bedrooms, right? It seems that sort of speaks to what you're talking about, that guests who come don't necessarily want to have to come to the kitchen to get their coffee in the morning, sort of thing.
Right.
Yeah, very interesting. So an event like this crisis, of course, has resulted in the strategic shifts like we're discussing. To do those kinds of shifts well, you need effective management across the teams, in your businesses. What did it take for your businesses to be able to make the rapid shifts that you made, going from a 2-year plan to a 2-week plan? What made that successful in your respective businesses? Kim, do you want to start?
Sure. I mentioned before that it started with our senior leadership getting together very quickly and making some important strategic decisions as to how we were going to treat the current situation. And I think the same thing applies when we're talking about moving forward, is making a few decisions on what is most important to us, and not getting caught up in too much overload of initiatives and projects, but focusing on the 2 or 3 important things that we can do to differentiate and move the needle vis-a-vis our competition. So most of that really has been something we've been working on for over 2 years at Woodside, because we have made a very, very concerted change to focusing on our customer experience, and really moving away from being a product focused company and more into that marketing orientation that focuses on the customer and fulfilling their needs and closing the gaps between their needs and what we offer.
Yeah. So clear leadership from the top with some focused ideas. Was that true as well at Cretan Townsend, Paul?
Yes. And, our leadership team consists of 5 people. We were able to quickly meet. When you have a strong leadership team with different people and diverse backgrounds, you're able to take these ideas and hash them out and get them to a good workable solution in a very short amount of time. And that's what we're able to do in a matter of just 2 or 3 days of meetings and kind of button heads. Sometimes we came out with a better plan than any one of us could come up with on our own. And the second part of it all is what your leadership and management needs to be doing, and hopefully they do this all the time, is trust with your whole team. Anytime you implement change, especially in a quick way, they have to trust you and why you're doing it. We ultimately put all of our employees' safety first. That was our most important thing. They understood that as well. Then we want to put our customer safety, so our employees and our customers, their safety was the paramount thing for us, to make sure they could be safe, while also balancing, hey, how do we be productive and still provide them a way to make a living during this time? So it's a fine line to balance. But once your team sees that you're doing that, and they have buy-in and trust that you're doing it for the right reasons, that's why they respond quickly, and you can get everybody on board so fast.
Yeah, that's great. So Paul, you lead the sales team there, right? So can you tell us a little bit about how you are engaging your team in the post-crisis planning? So what recommendations would you have for other sales leaders as they are trying to make sure their teams are ready to address the new normal?
So every morning at 9 o'clock, I'm on a Google Meet call with the entire sales team. There's 13 people total on that team. We meet every morning. We talk about, hey, what struggles did we have the day before with any of our technologies? Who had a good idea or figured something else out? So we're trying to just come up with good organic ideas there. And then the second thing I'm doing that's probably more important than that is I'm talking to each one of my salespeople, probably every 2 days, listening to them, understanding what they're going through, because they have a lot of fear and apprehension just with the outside world right now. Southeast Louisiana is one of the harder hit areas going on right now. We have several people with family members in the medical profession, so they have a lot of outside stress on them. So for them, just even that 30-minute meeting in the morning where they're talking and hanging out with their friends from the office, that's a real big relief for them and kind of gets their mind off of everything else that's going on. And there again, all just the follow-up phone calls and checking in and seeing their well-being and how they're doing, I think is probably some of the most important things to be doing right now.
And do you find that there's a change at all in the cadence of your sales activity or what you're going to be asking your salespeople to do going forward?
No, I think with the technology and working from home, there's always struggles with, do I wake up and get on the computer at 8 o'clock and work till 4 o'clock and I have to work between those hours? I think, they're starting to learn and figure out there are no set hours. You may be better off working in a 2-hour block, taking an hour off, being with the kids and the spouse, then coming back for 2 more hours. And instead of 8 to 5, maybe you start at 7 and you finish at 7 in the evening, but you get all your work done and you break it up as you see fit. Mm-hmm. I think it's going to be hard for some of them to leave that flexibility behind when they have to come back into the office. And maybe we will be able to institute some more remote type meeting and workspace when that day does come. So
yeah, and staying real briefly, finally in the sales space, someone is asking if there are any pre-qualifying questions that you think, and Kim, you may be able to answer this as well, pre-qualifying questions that you might be asking prospects before they come in, like as you think about these shifts to appointments, again, would you be checking to see if people are sick or other questions that you might want to make sure are in place, or have you thought about that yet?
Yeah, so safety is paramount for us. We're going to be talking to the customers about, do they have symptoms, signs, have they been exposed? We're actually going to require masks be worn when you do come to our facility between our specialists and the customers. We're actually going to do temperature scanning when you show up as well. I think we're going to start seeing more and more of that around the country in all kinds of different venues as we move forward. So we are going to pre-screen people for that, because ultimately safety is the number one priority, and we want to slow the spread of this thing. We don't want to be seen as a company that's increasing the spread of it, being that we have so many people coming from all over the state to visit us. Yeah. So we want everybody to be safe and secure when they do come to the office. So definitely we're screening that type of thing. We're actually going to test them when they get to our center. As far as the financing part of it, we would rather them come in because we can help them get approved for financing. We're not going to wait for them to get a yes or no from a mortgage company. We want to see them as soon as we can. Right.
It used to be that you would go through the metal detector before you went into it, and now you have to go through the temperature detector.
The temperature detector, yeah.
Somewhere. So Kim, talk to us a little bit about how you engage your team, your marketing and surrounding teams in planning for the future.
Sure. So the way that our company is set up, sales and marketing is somewhat separate. We have an entire marketing team that is at the corporate office as well as out in the field and divisions. It has been such a wonderful thing to get to work with my team, because this is when marketers really have to turn it on and be on their A game, is during crisis management. This is when the frequency and accuracy of communication becomes so important, and we are burning the midnight oil to make sure that our employees are not only on the same page and that the entire team understands the reasons why we are implementing certain procedures and processes, but also to make them aware of the narrative that we have for our customers, to give them confidence in us, so that when that sign goes up on the sales office door, and when our online salespeople are ready to schedule private tours and appointments, we're all saying the same thing, that it's a consistent message, that our customers can be confident of the sanitation protocol that we have for all of our retail spaces. That includes our model homes, sales offices, and design centers, that we will be asking pre-screening questions of them to find out if they're symptomatic or have traveled or have been around other people who have been diagnosed. Maintaining a social, making our customers even aware, hey, we're not going to shake your hand when you come to see us. We want to, but we're going to give you a great smile and a welcome. We're going to maintain that social distance that's been recommended by the CDC, and that we're going to do things digitally where we can. So we want to interact with people, and Paul had a very good point about financing. That is an extremely time-intensive and conversation-intensive part of the exchange and part of the relationship building. So we definitely want to video chat those types of conversations, but then, of course, provide them the electronic means to get all their documentation completed.
Mm-hmm. That makes a lot of sense. As you, again, one of our viewers asking here, as you plan to reopen the models, Kim, what type of marketing messages do you expect to include in your advertising or communications?
Well, so now we're putting the high touch element back into the equation. So once again, we need to assure our customers that these things that we've learned about hygiene and sanitizing and making sure that everything is minimizing the risk of any kind of contagious type of situation. And it's not just COVID-19, it could be influenza or any other type of contagious illness. So those learnings we're going to take forward, and we're going to continue assuring our customers that we're following all the right procedures, and our employees are going to stay healthy as a result of that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, keeping that message, that message you think will stay top of the page, probably for a while.
I really do.
Yeah.
Made a big enough impact on everybody's lives that it's going to carry forward.
Do you expect to restart? I'm assuming you paused it all. Any of your more traditional marketing channels soon, or did you not pause them, or how is that?
We did not pause. It was important for us to stay out in the marketplace, be visible, do all of our typical digital media communications, keeping our website up to date with the latest information that we have about the current situation, but also educating our customers about the things that we have available on the website that help them continue their home search process.
Yeah.
Those were the types of things that we really focused on. And moving forward, while some of those will get phased out, others will just get enhanced and will grow. So we'll be making some changes to our website that really offer a lot more to our customers in the upper funnel as they're beginning their home search.
Can you give us any examples there? Or what kind of changes are you thinking of making?
Well, the main thing is that we really want to offer some way that is web enabled of showing people unmodeled plans in a three-dimensional space. And like I said, up until this point, those types of tours, they suck up a ton of bandwidth. They're typically just offered on closed systems, on gaming laptops in our sales offices, because they just are massive entities. But we are, if there's anybody out there in the virtual tour space that wants to help us start designing some things that are enabled for the web, we're ready to go. We want to do it.
Being able to really allow them to truly see, what, and you think that needs to happen earlier in the funnel experience, so earlier in the journey?
I do, and the ultimate plan being some sort of future state where you really can buy a house sight unseen and feel like you've already been there.
Yeah.
So that's the goal. I mean, our senior leadership has told me under no uncertain terms, start thinking like we are never going to sell a house from a model home again. And that's a massive concept. So it's going to take us a while to get there, but we're definitely exploring the tools that can make that possible.
Right. That's really interesting. What about in your team, Paul? Are you changing the messaging that's coming out from your sales team to prospects? What do you expect to be leading the conversation with as you welcome people back into the model homes?
Again, just going back to echo Kim, the safety. We want to make sure we're following the safety procedures, and everybody's safety is paramount. As far as timing to buy a home, your decisions, we don't see that changing too much. I think that there's still demand there for housing. I don't think we're going to do any type of marketing overhaul. We're going to keep doing what's been working, but just like you said, what are the safety protocols and building that trust with the client? If they trust you to take care of them, keep you healthy, they're going to trust you more to build a home with you. So, and
can I ask you, what was it that what has worked well for you that you will continue to do to the degree that you know it in terms of the marketing and messaging and communications you were doing to draw in prospects?
To draw in, we use a lot of social media, lots of Facebook and Instagram. We're out of a lot of the traditional media sets, billboards, newspapers. We really don't mess with that. So we do community sponsorships, and we do social media as our two main arms of marketing. And we're going to keep pushing that, keep putting out good posts. We had a post probably a week after the lockdown in Louisiana. We got over 2 million likes and shares, which is just phenomenal for us. There's not even too many people in the state of Louisiana. So that was a huge post just because everybody's at home looking, they're bored. What is there to do? And they see this beautiful home, this beautiful custom home we built. To get that kind of exposure is big. So we're going to keep following that up and trying to get more of that.
What are the best channels that worked for you for your market, Kim?
Well, we're starting to utilize a lot of video across all channels. So it doesn't matter if we have a Zillow listing, we want a virtual tour attached to it. If it's a social media post, we want a customer testimonial that has been created on video. So we're finding that works very, very well. People are engaging with that type of content much more frequently.
Makes a lot of sense. So we're nearly up to our time limit here. So I just wanted to ask both of you, if you could pick a top recommendation for post-crisis planning for anyone who's watching, like what's the key thing you think people ought to be focusing on right now to ensure that they're ready to come out of this crisis and be successful? Paul, do you want to start?
Yeah, I would say, your customers and your employees are going to be demanding to use this technology as they get used to it. So don't think it's just going to go back to the way it was. And if you just want to go back to the old ways, your competition will love you for it because they're not going to do that. They're going to keep moving forward. So you need to do that. And the second thing is engage everybody in the process. Your specialists, your salespeople, your builders, they're on the front lines implementing this technology. We get most of our best ideas coming up from them with, hey, this is how could this could be better. This is the problem I ran into. And when you get that kind of engagement from the bottom up, you get the buy-in that you need to actually implement the technology or whatever the tool may be you're trying to put into work.
That's great. So, and Kim, what advice would you give?
Well, he said the word customers. Listen to your customers. Do things that are going to eliminate friction for them and make their lives easier, solve their problem, eliminate their pain points. That approach works 100% of the time.
Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. I think that's all the time we have for today. And I really want to thank you both very much for joining me today. For those listening in, if you have any more questions, we're happy to continue conversations after our time ends. Feel free to drop them into the Q&A there really quickly. And from Atlas RTX, we'd of course be happy to answer any questions you might have about our technology if we can be of help to you. Please do plan to join us for our next webinar. We've got one planned already for next Thursday, April 30th, same time, 10:30 Mountain. Our panelists are going to be from Group 2, the nationally recognized marketing agency for home builders. So Matt Riley and Molly Elkman will be joining us, and we'll be talking a bit more about this new normal, what it's going to look like, how you need to get ready. We'll go deeper into some of the marketing and communication strategies as we come out of the crisis, which hopefully we all see as a definite light at the end of the tunnel in the not too distant future. Thank you both very much. Paul, Kim, thanks for being here today. Have a great day, everyone. We'll see you next week.
All right. Thank you.